Okay, so now in session 2, let's continue. Now in our previous video, if you never watched session 1, we know, and at the final end, we came to the conclusion our equation here AD is equal to C plus I plus G plus NX, which is the equation of the demand curve, aggregate demand curve. We came to the conclusion that each variable we can split it up. Now in our session 1, we looked at C and we said, okay, C we can split it up. How? C plus CY, right? But then they told us that is only possible when there's no government involved. When government comes in, this Y has to change. Can you see? C plus C, this whole thing is supposed to be Y. And then plus I plus G plus NX. But because government involved, Y stands for income, right? If government comes, there's going to be a problem because that makes taxes in the economy and that makes also transfers in the economy. So your income is no longer just Y. It's going to be minus the taxes from your income plus the transfers. And that's how you got your aggregate demand equation now. So as of now, our aggregate demand equation is this. I told you in the previous video, you can rewrite this whole thing as this. Simple. You just take out CY and put it to the end. And then you factor out minus C. But see, I did the maths in my previous video, right? All you do right now, you just memorize this also. If you ask me whether to memorize this or this, I'll say memorize this. Memorize this equation. Alright? And obviously, all these are autonomous because they all have hats. Can you see? So this whole bracket, whenever I told you have variables of hats, you just put it as a hat plus your CY. Done and dusted. Now, you would basically memorize this and be like, that's my only equation I'm going to use. But just now in the future slides, we're going to see that I also can be changed into like different aspects. So now equation, this will also change, right? That's because of tax rates. But right now, as of now, this is our equation, right? Okay. So obviously this is all the variables and you need to know how to construct it, right? If we're going to into this equation. So it's simple. I suggest pause the video and do this thing. So you got all this, right? So yeah, so pause the video and do it, right? Do the equation. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, so aggregate demand is equals to C. We know our C splits up, right? So obviously I never memorized the equation, but this is the equation. So it's C minus C times whatever that. So C hat. So where's C hat? 100. 100 minus small c, which is the MPC. Don't forget that. Small c is MPC. Okay, we got a problem here. MPS is equal. Okay. MPC plus MPS is equals to 1. So if they gave you MPS, which is 0.2, we need MPC, right? Because we need MPC to be C here. So solve for x. 1 minus 0.2 is 0.8 times taxes minus transfers. Taxes minus transfers, 150 minus 100, so we can use that 50. Plus investment plus government plus NX plus investment plus government plus NX. And I think the last thing is, okay, plus CY. So don't forget the brackets over here. All this was autonomous plus CY. C is obviously the MPC times Y. So it might be like, where's Y? So let me see 1 second. CY. Yeah, where is Y? Let's see how they did it, Joe. Oh wait, okay, we did all this, right? 200 plus 125. Okay. I see what they did over here. We actually don't solve for Y because Y is not a hat. It's called induced expenditure. All this was autonomous. It can be all converted to a number. Okay, I see. So if you put this now in calculator, you should come to This already worked it out, Joe. 685. 685 plus your cy, so 0.8y. So we don't work out the y. They're not telling us work out the whole equation. They're saying give me the equation. Right. So this actual equation is a hat plus cy. Oh, right. That makes total sense. So you see, so all autonomous, we worked it out when we got that. We got 685 plus cy. Easy. 682. Yeah, see? That's how they did it. So when you want to find the equation, you do that, right? You don't need to work at y. Anything induced is dependent on something, so you don't know that thing, so we do not work it out, right? Okay, that's how they did that. So in my previous video, I also introduced this graph, right? This is it's called the output, firm's output or output set line, and this is the output of what firms produced. Now our aggregate demand curve will look something like this on this graph. This will be the equilibrium point, right? Now obviously all this will be increase or decrease in inventory. Let's see if you'll be listening to my video. All this will be increase in inventory. Why? All firms produce this amount of goods, but only aggregate demanded was this. So you had items in the shop left, so that's increase inventories. And then obviously this part will be decrease inventory, right? So in that equation, the aggregate demand equation, anything increases from here puts the graph up, right? So if government goes up, government puts money in, it pushes the aggregate demand curve up. IU is greater than 0, it means increase in inventory is greater than 0. Or IU is basically an equation. Okay, they don't show it here, but basically IU is equals to y minus aggregate demand. So obviously when y is greater than aggregate demand, IU will be positive. I mean, that's obvious. So increase inventory. This decrease inventory, right? Put it. So I told you. Okay, so increase inventory is this. At any level above y0. So all these levels over here. See, AD is greater than. Y. This whole graph is called y. Y is greater than AD. Yeah, this is y. This is AD. So AD less than y is the same as y is less than AD. So if that means inventory increasing and they decrease production. Other hand over here, aggregate demand is less than y, as you can see over here. Your aggregate demand, this curve over here. No, sorry, what is it over here? Demand is greater than output firms. So aggregate demand is greater than your output firms, which is this graph. This graph is your output, this is firm's output, so obviously the aggregate demand is greater than that. Decrease in inventory, right? Yeah, decrease inventory. So obviously now you need more inventory, so will increase production. Equilibrium output y is equal to AD. So okay, so just ignore everything what I said. All you need to know is this formula here. So how do you work out the equilibrium output? The equilibrium output is the output where they meet. So see, AD meets y over here, the graph of y. This is the equilibrium output. So if you want to find this value, the y value, the value of here, y0, it's very easy. Y0 is equal to 1 over 1 minus c times autonomous expenditure. So you know c is equal to the MPC, so you have to get that, times autonomous expenditure. So that's easy. So you'll get an equation over here in numbers. So whatever this number is, you just times it by 1 over 1 minus MPC. Then you get what this value is over here. This is very important, right? Now this is the multiplier. Extremely important. So it's very easy because you know how to find y0. So the multiplier is, you just put a triangle here and a triangle here, literally. So what they mean by this, okay. So why? Okay, so let me explain to you what the multiplier is, because I feel like you need to know this. Okay, so the multiplier. So can you see how aggregate demand increased from year to year? Can you see how it increased from year to year? Right. This increase over year is government spending. So the government put 1 million rand in the economy. But this 1 million rand economy the government put, how much does it increase output by? Remember, y is output over here. So this and this. Okay, so y over here was before over here. So y increased from year to year. Can you? I want you to see something, right? When the government put money in, it was a very small area where the aggregate demand shift up. But the output shift more than that. So because the output shifted more than what the government puts in, that's a multiplier. And it makes sense that in the world, the government puts in 1 million rand, but output increased by 2 million. The multiplier is 2. And it makes sense. Now, how do you calculate this? Very easy. If you know the aggregate demand went up by 5, but income went up by 15, what's the multiplier? Just take this divided by that. So it's 3. Makes sense. So whatever you put in, the output will grow by that. So the multiplier is 3. The output will, if you put 5, the output will grow by 3 times 3, so 15. But there's another way you can do this. That's very important. If you know this number, you can get this number. How? This equation. Your net change. So your net change also your increase. So your government increase spending by 1 million rand. That's your net increase, which is your A. Remember, government spending, all that in the aggregate demand curve is your A hat. So in this case, let's see. If the multiplier, if MPC I give you is 3, so the equation goes 1 over 1 minus MPC, so 1 minus 3 times A, autonomous A. You know autonomous A is this, right? Because the government puts in that. And you'll actually find out that this will equal to 15. There. So to get this amount, which is the Y over here, right? You take whatever the aggregate demand increased by, obviously the autonomous spending, obviously. So if government increased by 1 million rand, that will be A over here. Times it by 1 over 1 minus the multiplier will give you how much output increased by, and it'll always be more than this, right? So if the government increased by 1 million, increase spending by 1 billion, because the MPC is 10, this times autonomous 1 billion will give you 10 billion. Right, simple. Now all these graphs over here, they just tell you one thing, right? I'll tell you it. If there's no government and there's no NX, it means there's no government and international trading, or no government and trading. Savings will always be investment. This is an equation, right? Just remember that. No government, no trading, investment equals to savings, right? Just remember that. So now, with government and foreign trade, if there's government and foreign trade, you're going to have that symbol in the aggregate demand curve, G, and for trade you'll have NX. So if you have that, you know you're dealing with this kind of issue with government. So ignore all this and just go straight over here. Investment will not equal to saving. That was when we had no government and no trading. Now, if you have a government and trading, your investment is equal to this. How do I memorize this? Very easy. Personal savings plus government savings minus NX. Savings is your personal savings, what the people are saving, right? Another way to work out S, I told you, it's Y minus C. Plus your government savings. Think about it. The government, how it gets the money? Taxes But then all the tax it collects, it needs to spend money. So government spending is G, but it also needs to give transfers to people, minus TR. And then what's left over is your government savings. And then you just minus NX. Done. So that's how I remember it, right? So investment is equal to that. And yeah, that's it for this video.